in conversation with Lauren Pettit. Lauren is a certified life coach as well as a certified health coach. With God as the center of her life, she has been happily married to her husband for almost 18 years. Together, they have two amazing boys, Ray and Owen. She loves spending time with her family the most and enjoys helping others reach their goals to better themselves as a whole in her coaching career. And on today's episode of our interview, it's my utmost pleasure and joy to have on the show today, Lauren. Welcome on the show, Lauren.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Absolutely. I'm excited to have you on the show too. I'm excited we're going to be talking about your book.
Yes. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
so
absolutely. So, Lauren, could you tell us about your book, R10 Power Words God Freely Gives during any season of your life? And I want to say that's such an amazing title for a book. How does this book come about? What inspired you to write R10?
well, my book really comes from, it doesn't come from, I would say, a joyous place.
Mm,
Just knowing that God has absolutely used my pain for purpose. I will say that.
yeah.
Um, I had lost my dad back in 2016.
Wow.
Very unexpectedly with a cancer.
Wow.
And so after that, I had dealt with bouts of major anxiety. I would say major depression and anxiety. And being a Christian my whole life, pretty much, this was hard for me to really take in. It was hard for me to understand why I was having to deal with this.
Mm,
And I knew it stemmed from the passing of my dad. I knew kind of where that the source was.
mm,
But it was okay. And I had really prayed about it. And I was actually sitting in the parking lot of our church one morning, having a very, very hard morning.
wow.
And when before I went into the church, I felt like God had told me just to open up the word, just to open up my Bible.
Mm,
And when I did, it fell on Psalm 119, verses 145 through 162
mm,
automatically.
wow.
And I actually have that page, if you can see it. This is where
Wow,
the whole book
Mark.
stemmed from.
Beautiful. I love the way you mark your
Was
Bible. Interesting.
Yes, was here in my Bible. And I knew that this is kind of where I was going to find that word that I had been looking for, really, from the Lord.
Wow.
And I began to read it. And as I began to read it, I saw the words renew and refresh and rescue and redeem and
Mm,
revive and rejoice. And I knew that as I started to read these words, these were absolutely the words that were missing in my life.
wow.
I wasn't experiencing any of this. And as a Christian,
Mm,
that's something we don't think about. We're supposed to be joyful, and but at the time I was going through such a really dark place. And I actually wrote the date in my
mm,
Bible of when I received this word, and June, it was June 27th of 2021. So
mm,
this is 5 years after my dad's passing, and I was still going through this, still dealing with
wow.
it.
Wow.
So I really began to read and tried to figure out and what it was that the Lord was saying. And in scripture, the psalmist says, I wait for your word.
Mm,
And that is what I had. Those are the exact words I had prayed right before I opened this. And
mm,
so I knew this was my word, and I knew that I had to do something with it
mm,
to share. I didn't know where it was going to lead me, but I knew that I had to do something with it. And as I began to read over the next few weeks, I could not turn I could not turn my page off out of from this place in my Bible for months, for weeks.
Wow.
And I knew that this was going to be something big that the Lord really wanted to work with me on. And I decided that I would write about it.
Wow. 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 This is very, deep to know. And I'm sorry to know about the death. But that's very deep to know how this come about, how all of this started with R10. So thank you so much for sharing. And I'd
Absolutely.
love to ask you at the same time, for readers who haven't read the book yet, without
Mhm.
giving much information away, could we have a sneak of what we would expect in terms of themes picking up R10?
Yeah. Yeah. There's some places in the book that I actually have where you can write in notes. So it's not really a devotional, but there are lots of women's groups around my area that we live that have used it as a 10-week devotional for
Mm,
themselves. So it can also be used as that. But I would say what to expect really is just to be really downloaded with uplifting words. Like if you're and that's one thing that I really felt impressed that the Lord had told me was that this is not just for your situation, but it's also going to be used for other people's situations, whether it's in their finances or their marriage. Their marriage can be restored. All of these words that I go through,
mm,
and I can read you the words actually. Renew and refresh, rescue, redeem, relief, revive, rejoice, rejuvenate, restore, and rest.
mm,
And with those words, I mean, obviously, all of them I was struggling with in my life,
mm.
having to go through what I was going through. But I would just say to expect to just, it's an easy read. It's a really easy read, but, and to also just something that you can keep on your bedside table or in your car, whenever you need an encouraging word, that it would be in there.
Wow. Wow. That's quite profound and quite a lot to take in. I love the sound of your book, really. So thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for sharing. And
Mhm.
now, Lauren, I'm curious to know if you experienced any challenges in the process of writing R10. If there is any, could you share with us what challenge it is and how you ultimately overcame it?
Yeah, I would say, I think for me, it was just having the patience to trust the process of getting
Oh,
it completed. I knew what I wanted the book to look like and I knew what I wanted to say,
wow.
overall. But I also, I just had to kind of trust that I couldn't rush it. And I'm real big on like rushing through and trying to, because I want to see the finished product, but I had to really take my time. And that was a challenge for me.
Hmm.
Also running a business, a full-time life coaching business where I have clients that are, that depend on me to help them with their times. So doing that while getting this coaching business
Hmm.
underway was challenging. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's quite lovely to know, really. I love the sound of your
Yes.
answers to this question. And then could you please show the book to the camera again? I think you showed it already, but we'd like to. Oh, good. Look at
Yes.
amazing, amazing cover. I love it. I
Yes.
love the cover and I love the lighting at the or the edge of the hill
Yes.
rather.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting. I'm sure that speaks a lot itself. Because
It
covers,
does.
covers always have a message, in it. As an author, I can relate. When I say do my cover this way, make it this way because you have a vision of what it's gonna look like. So there's always an interpretation to a book cover. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's amazing. I love the look of it.
Thank
And now,
you.
yeah. And now, could you tell us what publishing is like for a published author like yourself? Are there any challenges you've encountered ever since it got published? Also, how do you handle criticism as a writer?
Well, criticism, I really haven't had any criticism from the book yet. But I don't want to say yet. Hopefully I won't have any criticism. But I would say just not knowing, like, when people don't get back with you to critique it, I would say that's
Mm,
kind of hard to, you want to hear, kind of, what did you think about the book? And you don't want to really
yeah.
come out, but that type of thing, that's a little challenging. Publishing was pretty simple. I did it through TBN, which is
Wow.
Trilogy. It's Trilogy Christian Publishing, and so
Wow.
they took care of all of that for me, which I was very thankful for. They walked me through all of the editing process. That took a lot of patience. I had to have a few things edited here and there. Um, yeah. So just and they did the cover and did all the hard work, I would say. But just, it was a blessing to be able to have them help me with this process. And I had saw their commercial on television. This has
Wow.
also been this has also been commercialized. It's been on television 10 different times
Wow.
in a commercial on TBN. So I was very thankful that they were able to do that as well.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing, really. I love the sound of that. That's very amazing. And now, apart from our 10 power words God really gives during any season of your life, do you have any other works you've authored or maybe currently working on?
I do. I have my second one that I'm working on.
Wow.
My second book that I'm working on, and it's going to be um probably about the same length and the same easy read as this. It's going to be called Focus. And the focus is going to stand for fully optimizing courageous, unwavering strategies of the enemy.
Mm.
And
Wow.
that's a title that I had come up with.
Wow.
And yes, I'm currently working on that. Um, Definitely a little bit harder now that my coaching business has taken off. It's a little bit harder, definitely, to find time to write, and being a mom and wife and all that stuff.
Mm.
But it's something I'm very excited about. I'm super excited for my next book. Yes.
Wow. Wow, that's very amazing to know, really. And I love the title of your books. They sound faith-based. I love the look. I love the sound of it. Yeah, I
Thank
love the
you.
sound of it. Now, is there anything that you'd love to share with the viewers about your writing, about your book, that we did not mention in this interview and you'd love the viewers to know?
Um, I would say, um, I don't know. I think I would just still impress upon the fact of, to not think that this is just a book that's over loss or anxiety or panic or depression or anything like that. That it can again be, and really is meant to be, for any kind of season. Just like
Mm,
the title says, during any season of your life,
mm,
whether you're going through, and I get to speak to individuals as a life coach every single day
mm,
that they're dealing with really hard times, and it has nothing to do with anything that I have gone through. Some of it is much, much worse. And this book has also been a great resource for my clients to go back to look at,
mm,
just for inspiration, and that it can be applied to absolutely anyone's life in any situation. And life happens, and so it may not be for right for you right now, but it's pretty guaranteed that we're probably going to have a time in our life where we're going to need some encouragement and some
absolutely.
uplifting words. Yeah. So I
Absolutely.
would say just to not limit it to necessarily around loss, and it doesn't really deal with that. It's the uplifting, it's the 10, and that's why it's called R to the 10th power, because these are power words, really, that if we can receive them and accept them
Mm,
to be for us, is when I think it's going to be really come to life, you know,
Wow.
in your own life.
Wow. Wow. I love the sound of this. I love the sound of this so much. So thank you so much for adding this. I really appreciate it. And now, as a published author, what sort of advice do you have for other writers who are still struggling with publishing a book? Before you answer that question, I'd like you to preserve or to prepare a page or a short section that you love to read to the audience in your book. Yeah, now let's talk about the advice you have for writers struggling.
Okay. Yeah. I would say the one thing that I would say is to purposely, if you're a writer and you're trying to find the time or balance the time between work and writing or whatever it is, that to do it, to purposely schedule the time, to make it intentional for yourself to schedule the time,
Mm.
and get rid of any distractions
Wow.
that might come about. So getting rid of your devices, or just finding a place where you can just sit and concentrate. That was big for
Mm.
me.
That's
Yeah.
amazing, really. And now I'd like you to read a short section of your book to the audience, just so we can have an idea of what it looks like. Would you like to do that?
Yes, yes. I have a section here. Um, and it's from chapter 5. And so so you probably have guessed that each word is a chapter. So chapter 5 is actually relief is the word that I put for that chapter.
Mm.
And um, Psalm 4:1 actually says that answer me when I call, God of righteousness, give me relief from my distress. And if there's any viewers watching that are in distress, or they just feel like right now the world's pretty crazy, and there's a lot of going on, and
Absolutely.
we're not exempt from distress.
Mm.
But going back to that word, I just put in here that this verse can be a prayer for you, my dear friend,
Mm.
unless it is in fact already been a prayer of yours. We have all been there. I will continue throughout the book as I write to refer to the passage
Mm.
that you read at the beginning, which is from where the first passage that I give, where this stemmed from. I needed a sense of relief in my life at that point when God gave me those verses of scriptures that
Mm.
you have seen me mention before.
Wow.
Relief can come in so many different avenues in life, and it can be the best feeling when you get it. But God wants you to really experience this every day, as
Mm.
I have said before. That may be where we go wrong a lot of the time. We may think this can only be done and that this feeling can only come around occasionally. But the truth is that every day we are granted the privilege to see another day and are given a chance to experience the kind of relief that God has always intended on us having.
Wow. Wow. Wow, that's
So,
quite pulling, really. That's very amazing. Thank you so much for reading. It sounds very amazing to me. I love the sound of it. Wow, thank you so much, Lauren. This is quite
thank you.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in case we have some, viewers who are currently watching this interview and would like to get a copy of R10, on what platform is it available on for purchase?
There's 3 platforms. So it is on Amazon. It is listed on Amazon. It's on barnesandnoble.com. It's on Barnes and Noble's website. Hopefully we'll be in stores soon. That's something I am working on with Barnes and Noble. And then it's also with, of course, Trilogy Books from Trilogy Christian Publishing.
Uh, That's great. And I left a link in the discussion part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Lauren Pettit's books directly. So thank you so much, Lauren, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. It's awesome having this conversation with you.
Thank you so much. It was so fun.
Yeah, it's amazing, really. I love every bit of it.